In the heart of Lagos, where dreams fight with reality every single day, there lived a young man named Nelson. Life had not been kind to him. Every morning, he woke up to the sound of disappointment, the sound of unpaid rent, of empty pockets, and of doors that refused to open no matter how hard he knocked. Nelson once had dreams, big dreams of owning a company, of making a name for himself in business. But dreams can be cruel when hunger keeps whispering louder than hope. He had lost count of the number of rejections he'd faced. Every investor he met gave him the same line, "We'll get back to you." And they never did. Beside him during those hard times was his girlfriend, Amara. For years, she stood by him, or so he thought. But the day came when she got tired. She told him he was chasing shadows, that she couldn't keep waiting for a miracle. She wanted comfort, luxury, and a man already made. Nelson had none of that to give. The night she left, rain fell hard on the streets of Lagos. Nelson stood under the drizzle, holding his small bag of files and proposals. He didn't speak. He didn't cry. He just stared into the dark road ahead and whispered, "One day. One day, it will all make sense." Days turned into weeks, and life seemed colder. He spent nights sleeping on a wooden bench inside an uncompleted building, using his jacket as a pillow. Sometimes he didn't eat. Sometimes, he pretended he wasn't hungry. Then one morning, fate took a turn. He was at a business seminar, one he couldn't even afford to attend. He had begged the gate man to let him in, promising to stand at the back. There, while he listened to people discuss millions he didn't have, a gentle voice beside him said, "Are you okay? You look lost." He turned, and that was the first time he saw Venessa. Her smile was soft, the kind that could melt pain. She was dressed smartly, confident, and her eyes held a kind of light Nelson hadn't seen in years. That day, she sat beside him, asked about his dreams, and listened like his words mattered. For the first time, Nelson felt seen. She didn't look at his torn shoes or faded shirt. She looked straight into his eyes, and saw something worth believing in. That evening, as he walked home, he realized his steps were lighter. For the first time in a long while, someone believed in him. From that day, Venessa became a light that never dimmed in Nelson's dark world. She called him every morning, sent him encouraging messages, and sometimes brought food when she noticed he was struggling. Nelson didn't understand why she cared so much for a man who had nothing, no car, no house, no money, just a heart full of broken dreams, but Venessa wasn't like most people. She saw strength in his scars, courage in his struggles, and potential in his pain. She often said, "Nelson, I don't believe in what a man has. I believe in what he's capable of becoming." Together, they started building again, one idea at a time. She helped him rework his business plan, connected him with people she knew, and even lent him some money to print his proposals. Nelson protested at first, but she smiled and said, "This is not charity. It's faith." Days turned into months, and their bond grew deeper than words could explain. Nelson found himself waking up every morning with new energy, new purpose, and new hope. The world that once mocked him now started noticing his efforts. Then, one afternoon, his phone rang. It was an international investor who had received one of his proposals through a friend Venessa introduced. The man said, "I want to meet you, young man. There's something promising about your idea." Nelson couldn't believe his ears. That night, he sat with Venessa under the streetlight near her compound, holding her hand and smiling through tears. "You made me believe again," he said softly. She smiled and replied, "No, Nelson. You always had it in you. I just reminded you of who you are." The meeting came, and Nelson's world changed. The investor saw potential in his project, a logistics company with a modern digital approach. Within weeks, the papers were signed, and funds were released. The business grew faster than he ever imagined. In 1 year, Nelson went from sleeping on a bench to owning one of the fastest rising companies in Lagos. Reporters called him the miracle businessman. But in every interview, he always said the same thing: it was Venessa who saw light when everyone else saw darkness. Life was finally smiling at him. He bought a house, a car, and started living the dream he once thought impossible. But even with all the success, he remained humble. He never forgot the nights of hunger or the woman who held his hands through it all. Then one day, Venessa called him, her voice bubbling with excitement. "Baby, I'm traveling for a business conference. It's just for a few days. I'll be back before you miss me." Nelson laughed and said, "You know I can't survive one night without hearing your voice." She giggled softly. "Don't worry, I'll call you once I land." The next morning came with sunlight so warm, it felt like hope itself. Nelson woke up smiling, remembering Vanessa's laughter from their last conversation. He had big plans for her return. He wanted to surprise her with a ring. He had already bought it, a simple but elegant one, and kept it hidden inside his drawer. He was ready to ask her to be his wife. By noon, he was in a meeting, signing new business deals and smiling proudly at how far he had come. Every success, every achievement, it all reminded him of Vanessa's words, "You're destined for greatness." But just as the meeting ended, his phone began to buzz repeatedly. Calls were coming in one after another. At first, he ignored them, thinking it was business. But then, his friend Tund burst into the room, his face pale and trembling. "Nelson." He whispered, struggling to breathe, "What happened?" Nelson asked, standing up quickly. Tund swallowed hard. "Vanessa's flight. There was an accident." Nelson froze. The words didn't make sense. He laughed nervously and said, "Stop that joke, Tund. That's not funny." But Tund's eyes were red. "It's all over the news." The plane crashed a few minutes after takeoff. There were no survivors. The phone slipped from Nelson's hand. The world around him went silent, the sound of cars, people talking, everything disappeared. His legs gave way, and he fell to the floor. He didn't shout. He didn't cry. He just sat there, staring at nothing, whispering her name like a prayer that refused to end. That night, the rain fell again, heavy, endless rain, as if heaven itself was mourning with him. Nelson locked himself inside his house, refusing to eat or talk. He played Vanessa's voice notes over and over, the one where she said, "Don't worry, I'll call you once I land." Days passed. Friends came. Family came. They all tried to console him. But Nelson was gone, lost inside the pain. One night, he stood by the balcony, staring down at the empty street below, whispering, "If love could build wings, I would fly to her." He thought of ending it all, of crossing over to wherever she was. His hands shook as he leaned on the rail, tears streaming down his face. Then, a soft voice behind him said, "Nelson. Don't." He turned around sharply. His heart stopped. There she was, Venessa, standing right there, smiling, wearing the same outfit she wore the last time he saw her. Her eyes glowed softly in the moonlight, her voice gentle as the night breeze. He fell to his knees, trembling. "Venessa." She smiled and whispered, "It's me. I came back. I would never leave you, Nelson. Love doesn't die. It only changes form." He grabbed her hand, holding it tightly, afraid she might vanish. "You're real. You came back to me." She nodded. "I came back because your heart called me." From that night, everything changed. Vanessa was there with him, every single day. She laughed with him, sat beside him while he worked, cooked with him in the kitchen, and even danced with him in the living room when his favorite song played. Nelson never questioned it. He didn't care how or why. All that mattered was that she was back. She was his again, but the world outside didn't see what he saw. When visitors came, Nelson would laugh and talk, but to them, he was talking to an empty chair. When he drove through the busy streets of Lagos, he smiled and reached out his hand to hold hers, but people only saw a man talking to himself. Rumors began to spread. Some said the pressure of success had made Nelson lose his mind. Others whispered that loneliness had driven him mad. But Nelson didn't care. He had Venessa, and that was all that mattered. His workers avoided him. His friends stopped calling. Only Tun tried to talk to him, saying, "Bro, you need help. This thing you're saying about seeing Venessa, it's not possible." Nelson only smiled. "Tun, but she's here with me. She never left." Sometimes, at night, when the world was quiet, he and Venessa would walk down the streets together. He'd hold her hand, whisper her favorite jokes, and laugh like a man who had everything he ever wanted. To him, life was perfect again. But one evening, as he passed a mirror in his room, he noticed something strange. Her reflection wasn't there. He turned around quickly. She was still standing behind him, smiling. His chest tightened. "Venessa, why can't I see you in the mirror?" She smiled softly and said, "Because I no longer belong to that side, Nelson. But I will never leave you." Nelson kissed her and said, "As long as you are here with me, nothing else matters to me." It began with whispers, soft at first, then louder, spreading like harmattan fire through the city. People said Nelson had gone mad. They said he was seen walking alone on the streets at night, smiling and talking to himself, sometimes laughing. He didn't care what the world thought. As long as he had Venessa, nothing else mattered. The whispers grew. His workers resigned one after another. Neighbors avoided his house. Even friends who once celebrated his success now crossed to the other side of the road when they saw him coming. One afternoon, Nelson's younger sister, Kayamika, came to visit. When she entered his living room, she heard him laughing and setting an extra plate on the table. "Nelson," she said softly, "who are you talking to?" He turned to her, smiling proudly. "Can't you see her? Venessa's here. She made your favorite soup." Kayamika froze. The table was empty. Only him and 2 plates was there. Tears filled her eyes. "Brother, Venessa is gone. You have to stop this." Nelson frowned. "Don't say that. She's right here. She's smiling at you." Kayamika shivered and ran out of the house. That night, she called their mother, crying uncontrollably. "Mama, something is wrong with Nelson. He's talking to ghosts." The next morning, the family gathered. They came with friends, with pastors, with anyone who could help. Nelson refused to open the door at first. But when he finally did, his mother held his hands. "My son, we love you. But this thing you're saying, Venessa's spirit, this is not normal." But his family couldn't rest. They sought help from a native doctor said to see beyond the human eye, an old man known as Baba Ofurum. After listening to their story, the old man closed his eyes and muttered, "Your brother is not mad. He is living with a spirit, a lover who refused to cross to the other side." They gasped in shock. The old man continued, "If she stays, his life will never be at peace. Soon, one of them must leave for the other to rest." That night, Kayamika cried. She didn't know whether to believe or doubt. But one thing was certain, Nelson was no longer the same. Meanwhile, in his mansion, Nelson danced with Venessa under the soft glow of the moonlight, whispering, "They'll never take you from me." Days passed, and Nelson's family watched helplessly as he drifted further away from reality. They no longer saw the cheerful, humble young man who once spoke of hope and success. What they saw now was a man lost in a world of his own, a world where the living and the dead walked hand in hand. His mother cried every night. "My son is talking to a ghost. God, what did we do to deserve this?" At last, they returned to Baba Ofurum, although Nelson's mother did not want them to go there again, but the entire family insisted that it's the only way out. The old native doctor who lived on the outskirts of Lagos, deep in the swampy edge of Ikorodu. His shrine was quiet, filled with burning herbs and the low hum of ancient chants. When Nelson's family arrived, Baba Ofurum looked up from his cowrie shells and said calmly, "I told you. He is not mad. The woman's spirit loves him too deeply to leave." Nelson's mother knelt before him, weeping. "Baba, please, help my son. Free him from her before he destroys himself. Since they say you are the only solution, please help so that my son can have her life back." The old man nodded and reached for a small clay pot filled with a thick white substance that shimmered faintly in the firelight. "This," he said, "is the ephod of truth. When it touches the ground, any unseen spirit nearby will become visible, and then vanish forever." He gave them strict instructions. "Do not speak while doing it. When she steps on it, she will show herself. But when she does, do not pity her, for if you hesitate, she will pull him with her." That night, the plan began. Nelson's family arrived quietly at his mansion with Baba Ofurum. Nelson was in the living room, laughing softly, talking to Venessa as usual. To him, she was right there beside him, holding his hand, smiling like old times. Baba Ofurum whispered, "Now." Kayamika poured the white mixture carefully across the floor. The air grew colder immediately. The candlelight flickered. Nelson frowned. "What are you doing? Stop that." But it was too late. Venessa stepped forward, and as her bare feet touched the white mixture, a blinding glow filled the room. Everyone screamed and covered their eyes. When they looked again, she was standing there, visible, real, her beauty glowing like moonlight. Everyone stood frozen in shock. Venessa looked around, confused, her eyes filled with tears. "Nelson. What's happening?" Then, before anyone could move, her glow began to fade. Her voice trembled. "Nelson, they've called me back." He ran toward her, screaming, "No. Don't go. Don't leave me again." She reached for him, her fingers brushing his cheek, and then, she was gone. The light disappeared. The house fell silent. Nelson collapsed to the floor, shaking violently, crying from a place deeper than pain itself. "Venessa. Come back to me." No one could move. Even Baba Ofurum looked shaken. That night, the mansion echoed with his cries, the cries of a man whose heart had just died twice. The night after Venessa vanished was one Lagos would never forget. Inside Nelson's mansion, the once lively home was now filled with the sound of sorrow. The walls echoed with his cries. He shouted her name again and again, hoping she would answer, hoping she would walk through the door and tell him it was all just another dream, but silence answered him. His mother and sister tried to hold him, but he pushed them away. "You don't understand," he shouted. "You took her from me. You made her leave me." He tore through the house, searching every room, calling her name like a man possessed. "Venessa. Please. You promised you'd never leave me." Tund, his best friend, tried to stop him, but Nelson was gone, lost inside his grief. His eyes were wild, his voice breaking with pain. "She was all I had. You all took my life away." Then he ran outside, barefoot, shirtless, into the night. The rain had started again, soft at first, then heavier, as if heaven itself wept with him. Neighbors gathered as he ran down the street, shouting her name, "Venessa. Come back to me. I can't live without you." Told him, but he pushed through, his feet pounding the wet road. "You can't leave me again." He screamed. Then, in the distance, he saw her. Or maybe he thought he did, a faint figure standing in the middle of the road, glowing faintly through the rain. Her white dress fluttered in the wind, her face calm and kind. "Venessa." He whispered, slowing his steps. She stretched out her hand toward him. "Come," she said softly, her voice barely louder than the rain. He smiled weakly. "You came back." Tun's voice rang out behind him. "Nelson. Stop. There's a car." But Nelson didn't hear him. His eyes were fixed on her, his love, his everything. He took one step forward. Then another, reaching out to hold her hand, the headlights came fast, too fast, a loud, sharp sound tore through the night. Screams followed. The car screeched to a stop. Nelson's body fell to the ground, motionless, his hand still stretched toward the empty air. People ran toward him, shouting, crying. But Nelson was gone, his eyes open, his lips curved into a soft, peaceful smile. At that same moment, a soft breeze swept through the street. Some said they saw a faint light hovering above him, and in that light, two figures walked away together, hand in hand. Vanessa's voice whispered faintly in the wind, "I told you I would never leave you." And for the first time, Nelson didn't cry. He was finally free, with her. Morning broke slowly over the city of Lagos. The streets were still damp from the night rain, but the air was heavy, like the sky itself carried sorrow. By dawn, the news had spread across town: Nelson, the young billionaire who rose from nothing, was dead. The story carried in every whisper, every headline, every social media post: successful entrepreneur dies after alleged mental breakdown. Nelson was last seen running into traffic, calling out a woman's name. Reporters flooded the area, cameras flashing, people gathering. Some came out of curiosity, others out of shock. But those who truly knew him, those who had seen his journey from the gutter to glory, stood in silence. Tears glistening in their eyes. Tund arrived first. When he saw Nelson's lifeless body covered by a white cloth, his knees gave way. "I failed you, my brother," he whispered. "I should have protected you." Nelson's mother sat on the ground beside the body, her wrapper soaked with tears. "I told them to stop. I told them I don't want to go to that Baba," she wailed. "Now he's gone. My only son is gone." The crowd watched in silence. Even strangers felt the weight of her pain. Later that day, Vanessa's family arrived. Her mother wept bitterly when she saw the scene. "He truly loved her," she said softly. "Maybe more than life itself." No one could explain what truly happened that night. Some said Nelson saw her ghost and followed her. Others believed love had simply called him home. During his burial, the sky turned gray again, and a soft drizzle began to fall, the same kind of rain that had always accompanied his story. The pastor's voice trembled as he spoke. Nelson's life was short, but his love was eternal. As they lowered his body into the ground, Kayamaka sobbed uncontrollably. "Forgive us, brother. We didn't know we were taking away your peace." That night, after everyone left, the graveyard grew quiet. But the guards later swore they saw something strange: two shadows standing beside the grave, holding hands. One was tall and broad-shouldered, the other slim and graceful. They said the two shadows slowly faded into the mist, as if walking away together. From that night, the mansion that once echoed with Nelson's laughter became silent forever. His company continued to grow under Tund's care, but the house remained locked, untouched, a reminder of love that refused to die. And sometimes, on calm nights when the moon was bright, passers-by claimed they heard voices from inside the mansion, a man and a woman laughing softly, whispering promises only love could understand. Some hearts are too bound to be broken by death. Love is a spirit on its own. It walks beyond the grave, it breathes in memories, and sometimes, it returns in forms we cannot explain. But when love refuses to let go, peace becomes a stranger. Some doors are meant to close, even when the heart bleeds to keep them open. Love deeply, but let go when the spirits call, because sometimes holding on too tightly can summon shadows we are not meant to see.